What's an API? What is structured data? Why do we need any of this stuff in the civil justice system? Anybody that follows Sir Geoffrey Voss's speeches will have heard him being quite scathing about members of the legal profession who think that technology is video conferencing and having the bundle as a PDF rather than on paper. Whereas that doesn't really harness technology, that's just doing the same thing in a different way. Whereas there's a much greater opportunity to harness technology to manage the civil justice system much more efficiently. And that's what Voss is talking about. And the key to that is having structured data and an API. What are these things? Let me illustrate, first of all, give you an example of the problem. Consider this bundle. It's a 200-page bundle for a run-of-the-mill county court claim, but there's actually only about 100 unique pages in it because there's lots of duplication. There's, a claim, amended claim, defense, amended defense, but and a witness statement. But the witness statement includes the claim, and it includes some of the case management orders, and those case management orders are also included separately in the bundle. So you get all this duplication. And because the bundle's been recreated several times and kind of printed and scanned and goodness knows what, you get this crazy numbering problem where every page has got several numbers on it. And it's just bonkers. If we're sharing a 200-page document, we should be able to agree on what page we're looking at. So that's a little insight into the problem. And the cause of that problem is that you've just got these PDFs. There's no structure to this data. All that's happened is someone scanned in a document and scanned in more documents and ended up with this big bundle of PDF pages. The solution is to structure that data better. And when I say structure the data, I'm talking about things like, if you consider an email has structure. It's got a to field, who the email's to, it's got a subject line, it's got a body for the main message. And it doesn't matter what software you use to view that email, it'll always be laid out correctly with the address in the address field, the subject in the subject line, and the body of the message. And if you reply, it'll automatically prepare your message to go back to the person that sent you the first message. You don't have to retype the person's address as you would if it was a simple memo, like a scan of a memo with a saying it was who it was to and from, to send back a memo. You'd have to type in the person's address, right? So email is structured in that way. Let me give you a slightly more sophisticated example. If you go to the legislation.gov.uk website where you can view legislation, here's an example. You can see the legislation on the page here as a web page, but obviously underlying this is some structured data. And on legislation.gov.uk, you can see that structure. If you tag on the end of the URL data.xml, you'll see the XML structure. And it might, if you look at that and you're not familiar with this kind of thing, you might think, what is all that? It's just kind of computer code. But if you look closely, you can see that it is human readable. It's got little tags that describe what bit of information is what. And that allows the system to use that data, not only to populate the web page, which we looked at a moment ago, but also you can tag on data.pdf and it'll create you this beautiful, nicely formatted PDF of the legislation, which you can then print out. And that PDF doesn't exist anywhere. It's just created on the fly from the underlying data. And you can see how with this sort of system, you could, for example, create a PDF which only includes the elements that of the legislation that relate to England and Wales, for example, or only to Scotland or what have you, because the data is structured and it can be manipulated easily. So if we go back to the bundle example, you can imagine that if all of that information was structured, so you had, a date of the claim, and you had some paragraphs which constituted the claim, and some other paragraphs of information which constituted the defense, and some amounts and all that kind of stuff, you wouldn't have to keep printing and reprinting and rescanning and recompiling this bundle. You'd have all the information in one place. If you wanted it as a nice PDF, boom, you can just print it out as a nice PDF. And the whole thing is much easier to manage. And there's a start of this going on with the new online money claim system. So the original money claim online, I think it was called, which has been going for maybe 20 years now. And all that really does is allows you to fill out a form online, and then everything else goes through the normal old-fashioned process. Whereas the newer system actually asks for structured data. So if you look here, this is what a what part of the process looks like. Here you put in a little description of the things you're claiming and the amounts, and then you can add several rows and you can add them up and what have you. And there's other fields for the dates and what have you. And then when the defense gets the claim, they'll have a similar page where they can fill out some structured data for why they think they don't need to pay your claim, and so on. And why is that useful? I mean, it's not just about making the bundle easier to manage, it's making everything easier to manage. So once you've got structured data, you can have an API, which is a system for computers to talk to each other, manipulating that data. So your case management system could have all that information in it. And you can just then, via the API, in theory, you could then file a claim directly from your case management system, directly into the into the court services system, and without having to rekey the data. And then when the defense files their defense, that could pop up directly into your case management system through an API call. And as far as I know, you can't do this at the moment on the England and Wales county court system, but you can do it in Scotland. So the online claim service in Scotland does have an API. So you can connect your case management system and file a claim directly from your case management system via the API onto the court services system without needing to go onto the website and file it manually. And you can also see, you can envisage how you could use some artificial intelligence on this. So you might not be able to imagine having an actual judgment delivered by a robot, but you can imagine some case management orders, right? You could imagine that you could use AI to look at the status of this case and say, okay, well, this is the kind of thing that should be stayed for a month to allow the parties to attempt mediation. It's not outlandish, I don't think, to suggest that a computer can make that decision based on reading the structured data and seeing what's going on, and then offer the parties an opportunity to attempt alternative dispute resolution or what have you. So that's what we're talking about. When we're talking about API and structured data, we're just talking about getting away from PDFs and scans and what's basically a paper system on a screen to something where you can actually use the power of technology to manipulate the data and make everything much easier for the people involved, and speed up the process and make it more efficient, and so on.